All right. Can you still hear me, Liam?
Yes.
Good. Okay. I never know. It always says, I think people can hear me, and then I go through this big spiel, and then no one can hear me. So we are recording now. And I just want to introduce and welcome Liam Smietanski to what I call my podcast interviews, kind of my conversation, the Empower Hour. Thought it was kind of crafty myself. But really, what I want Liam to share with us is just kind of your story, Liam, going up to kind of now as an adult, how you feel empowered and how you can inspire others. And I kind of know your backstory, but I don't know everything. So I'm actually going to be learning quite a bit about you as well. So I kind of know, but not completely. And actually, Liam is someone that I reached out to because I'm inspired by what I do know of your story. So I am just going to kind of open the floor to you and just kind of ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself, Liam, and where you come from and how you became Liam and who you are. Give us a little synopsis,
Okay.
right?
So the quick synopsis is I'm Liam. I am 26 years old. I live in Kankakee, Illinois. I'm an hour south of Chicago. Born and raised here, and that's been both a blessing and a curse. Um,
Right. A
you know,
fellow
as
Bradley Kankakee person, I get it.
yeah. Um, so that again was great having grown up in the same place, and not so great still living in the same place as a 26-year-old. Um, Art has always been my passion. It just was something that, as a young kid, people like, oh wow, you have this talent, you should really nurture this and go with it. And that kind of saved me growing up. So growing up in this area, it's very religious, and I went to a Catholic school. I was in a class of a very small, usually less than 20 kids, and I was one of those kids that never had any friends, and I was bullied constantly. Um, I've always been overweight. I was always like freakishly tall for my age until I got
Really?
to like, yeah, I was always like taller than the boys. Um, and we'll get to that too. Um, uh, so it was really strange, never really having friends, never really having play dates. And there was, I lived in a newer neighborhood, so there were never any kids my age except for one of my classmates who we were kind of friends, but not really because he liked playing football. And I'm like, I'm not coordinated enough to do even like pick up a ball. Um, so I really learned to rely on myself at a really young age. Both my parents worked, and I grew up with other people and other adults, and language became a big thing, and started reading fairly young. I was never great at it until probably high school, um, and it was just one of those things where I started relying on myself at such a young age and realizing that so many people were so unhappy with me and I couldn't understand why, that I had to be my own friend, and I had to just find my own way.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there were things that I started realizing early on when I was invited to play with other kids. I realized I would volunteer to play dad. Um, and so, surprise to the audience, I am trans. So I started out, I was born female. I am now male. And, growing up as a girl, I kind of already knew I didn't feel right. I mean, I can remember conversations with my parents being like, when I grow up, I'm going to have a penis. When I grow up, I'm going to be a boy. And my parents were like, oh, that's really not going to happen, but good for you. Um,
Yeah, okay.
and yeah, and they're just like, yeah, okay, go with it. Don't, but okay. Um, and like the LGBTQ community was pretty cool in my family. For the most part, we have lots of family in my family, so they weren't like, oh God, no. Um, so it wasn't like a big deal. But then as I became a teenager and really realizing how uncomfortable I was in my own body, I think I came out the first time when I was 15, kind of telling my mom that, I I really do fall in love with gay men. I really strongly feel that I am in the wrong body. And then later on, doing more research, I found what trans was, and I fully came out as trans when I was probably about 20. I told friends before that when I was probably like 17 or 18. But by the age of 20, yeah, like, is this really what I want to do with my life? This is a huge change. Like,
Right.
literally, my world will flip upside down. Yeah. So that's where that kind of started. But again, the bullying kind of picked up again from there, because it's no longer just the people around you, but now you're hearing this literally on a national matter, the problems that happen for not only the trans community, but like the gay and lesbian community, and just as a whole, all these things are hitting you, and you're like, if I transition, if I really come out to everybody, am I hurting myself or am I becoming stronger?
Right.
And so I really took my transition. For me, I dove in head first. As soon as I came out, I started looking for a doctor, and I started medically transitioning, which I had a lot of medical problems on top of all this other social crap I had going on in my life.
Of course, right?
I mean,
Easy for you.
no, of course not. I missed a lot of school because I was in and out of the hospital, or I was in and out of doctor's appointments. And so, I mean, there were lots of emotional things going on too. And yeah, it took a long time to find a doctor that was willing to work with me to transition. And he's probably the most caring doctor I've ever met to this day. And so we just kind of got from there. And I didn't like tell a lot of people. I didn't really tell even my like extended family that I was transitioning at that point. I just kind of waited until my body started changing and I couldn't hide it anymore.
So you're like, wait a second.
Yeah, it's like, I've got some facial hair. I should probably say something.
Before they're like, you might want to get that checked out, right?
Yeah.
And when do you feel like you had kind of said that, even to, I mean, and I've actually met a really awesome woman via Facebook. I haven't actually talked to her, but we Facebook message a lot. And her daughter is going through, now her son is going through that same transition as well. And like, it's just so fascinating to me that as a parent too, like, how do you then, and it might be interesting to talk to your parents too, but like, when at that point did you know, or, because a lot of people are like, oh yeah, okay, they think they are, oh, they think they want to be, oh, she might want to be a guy, whatever. Like, when did you actually know, like, as a person, that I'm not a girl? Like, there's something going on here.
I mean, looking back on it, I what?
Do you remember when that time was?
Putting a specific like date on it, no, I can't say I knew like October 1st, blah blah blah.
Right. No,
but
nah.
But I mean, looking back on it, I knew. I always knew. I mean, you probably even maybe heard my mom at some point talk about when I was a little kid, and they'd try to put like curlers in my hair, like just little things. I just scream before I could even talk, before I really had words, and I would just scream. They'd put me in dresses, and I'd scream. I mean, before I
daughter.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think I knew before I even knew what the concept of boy and girl was.
Gotcha.
But growing up and actually making that firm decision of knowing what gender was, I think I really understood by the time I was probably 14. I really had that concrete decision, like, this is not me.
Right.
I'm very uncomfortable. I need to figure out something that's gonna change my life.
Wow. And at 14, like, I remember 14 vaguely wasn't a great time in my life. Just like that whole kind of coming into yourself, and as a teenager, and just all that gross, icky stuff that comes with it. So I can't even imagine like going through then that transition, and then coming to your parents and saying, yeah, really I'm a guy. Like this is not for me. Like, how do I go through this? So that's kind of a long period then from 14 to 20 when you actually like decided to then transition. That's a
Yeah.
long.
Well, again, I had a lot of medical problems. So at the
Oh,
time, I
that's
was
right.
going through a lot of things at 13, I had a stroke.
Oh my gosh. I think
Yeah.
maybe I knew that. I don't know.
Um, so like on my plate at the time, really thinking about my gender was not,
Right.
on the front burner.
Just living
Um,
at that point was probably.
yeah. And like when I say emotional things, like I have had doctors 3 times in my life shake my hand or tell me that I shouldn't be alive. They can't explain why I am alive. So, eh, like, just there were other things in my life that were always more important and more important, more important. And it wasn't until I was probably 18, 19, 20 that I felt like, okay, I've been out of the hospital long enough that
Right.
maybe it's okay to start looking at how am I going to be happy,
Right.
you
Right.
know?
Yeah, that's awesome. And can you kind of take me through like what you remember of that? Like when you made that decision or like what were kind of the key points? Because you said whatever's going to make you happy. I mean, were you concerned with, obviously what other people will think, or were you just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going for it. You people are all going to like it because this is me. Like what was that whole process?
Um, I think the
In a
whole the
nutshell.
whole process, yeah. So the whole process really started with medically, is this even feasible?
Sure.
Because I'm on medications for the long term.
Right.
I would love to figure out how to get off of them, but with blood wise, I will probably always be on blood thinners, and testosterone and blood thinners aren't always best friends.
Right.
So again, it took a long time to find a doctor that was like, I think we can do this. It's just going to take extra monitoring. Um, so my health was always like, that's the key determining factor.
Sure.
And then beyond that, it was I was already blessed to have a life at all. Like I had a stroke at 13. I was diagnosed with kidney problems. I was diagnosed with this and with this and with this. And it's like, I'm only going to get so long anyway. I
Right.
might as well take advantage of whatever the hell I've got left. Um,
Right.
so I just made that decision. Like I have to go through with whatever's going to make me be comfortable, make me be happy.
Wow.
Um, and it took a while. Once all the facial hair really started coming in, once my voice started dropping, and it still hasn't dropped as much as I'd really like it to. It probably took a good 2 years, but I really felt myself, and I was able to look in the mirror and say, I recognize you. Like you're the person I knew I was always supposed to be looking back at. There were other people telling me, I've never seen you so happy. I've never realized how unhappy you were until I met you right now.
Wow. That's
Um,
powerful.
yeah. So, I mean, even talking to other students, I'm a teacher now, and I moderate the Gay Straight Alliance at the high school I work at,
Awesome.
and I have students who are non-binary and who are trans, and so it's great helping them at the beginning of their transitions and at the beginning stages of coming out as non-binary, and how do I tell other people that. And I tell them, if you just do it, you will realize how much happier you can really be.
Hmm.
And it's just taking that first couple of scary steps and getting other people to get on your side of, you can really be happy.
Right.
And that makes the biggest difference, is when people who care about you see how happy you can be. It
Right.
makes a difference.
And did you have to kind of go through that, like you said, people who actually care about you? Did you have to go through that, and did you have to like, for lack of better words, like identify those people and then go, you know what, this person is not going to be supportive. I gotta let them go. Or this person, I want to bring into my world because they are going to be support. Like, did you go through that process, or are you still going through the process? I'm sure it's an
Um,
ongoing process, but
it's At this point, I am what I kind of consider post transition. So
okay.
I fully identify, I look, male. I don't really have to struggle on a daily basis of, do I pass?
Right.
Um, but at first, my dad he was pretty much totally on board. My mom was very hesitant.
As a
Um,
mom.
yeah, and she was like, I love you and I will support you all your way through this, but I am concerned.
That's
And
scary
I,
stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and I was like, I get that. And I will have any awkward conversation you want to have all the way through this. Just,
Right.
you know, don't leave me. Like, I need you right now more than ever.
Right.
And she's like, okay. But yes, I have been lucky in the fact that I have not lost all of my family. I have not lost all of my friends.
Right.
But there were people I lost along the way. A person I called mom number two. We were absolutely so close growing up. Literally mom number two. But she still says that she loves and supports me, but her religion comes first.
Sure.
And so every time we are together, you can just see it in her eyes that she's like really disappointed. A couple times she just starts crying, and like I just, for her sake, to not have to feel like she's being torn between me and religion, I feel like I've kind of given her up.
That space. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I still miss her all
I'm
the
sure.
time, you know. But like her daughters have almost completely turned their backs on me. Like one of them had a baby, and I was like, oh my god, I'd love to meet her. Can I hold her? And she like withdrew like I had the plague, and that crushed me. I mean, we were literally like sisters growing up, and my heart just broke into a million pieces when I couldn't hold who I thought was my niece, and like it just
Right.
it was heartbreaking.
Yeah, that I can only imagine. And I know that's a lot of things that people struggle with, that when you do find kind of your true happiness and who you are, then there are always like 9 times out of 10, I can pretty much guarantee everybody that there's going to be at least somebody that you're going to lose in the process because they're not going to understand it. They don't want to understand it, their religious beliefs, whatever it might be. There's always, unfortunately, there's that part of the struggle where you're going to lose someone. You hope you don't lose someone in there, or like everyone's just gonna be like, "Yay, you're awesome!" Go with you. It's not
Right.
how it works, right? That's just not how life works. So unfortunately, yeah, I kind of I just assumed that maybe there were a person or people that kind of fell off from you. I'm sorry to hear that. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
And then, do you feel like, what was kind of that major turning point? Was it when you decided to make the transition, that is like, that where you were like, I'm being true to me, like I'm ultimately like, when was that moment? Or was it like you said, when you looked in the mirror and you thought, holy shit, there you are, like, yeah, that's me. I mean, what was that major turning point where you're like, I'm true to myself and there's no turning back?
Um, I honestly, I don't know that I ever really had a moment like that because growing up, I was always kind of like my own best friend because I kind of had to be. So, I mean, I never really had too many people that always felt like they had my back. And so
Right.
it was always kind of like, it's me. I got to make me happy. I gotta do me, you know?
Right.
Um,
And for you, since you were kind of, you relied on yourself a lot, when was that point? When did you say, like, I'm really being true to me? Like, you felt it deep down your core. Like, was it, at what time did you, or do you feel that yet? I mean, like, I don't know, am I making assumptions?
I would definitely say I feel like I live my highest truth, you know, like, um, and that moment that I felt like I was really finally me was that first time I was able to look in the mirror and say, I recognize you. I mean, I had never had a moment like that in my life where I was able to look in the mirror and say, like, you are the person that I love, the person that I can fully see as me.
Hmm.
All the times before that had been like, ugh,
Yeah,
you know, like I want to fix this. I want to.
kind of
What
stuck.
can I do? Yeah, like, and I know so many people go through with this, and I still have this, like, oh, I'd like to lose this chunk of fat here, or this chunk of fat here, but that first time where it's like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you're me. I like you. That's awesome. That was probably,
Oh,
yeah. I mean, that was probably like 3 years ago, and that was
awesome.
probably the best feeling I've ever had in my life. I stood there and cried for a couple minutes because I'm like, I've never loved myself the way I had
Oh.
felt like that before.
Oh, I'm gonna cry for you. Take me back 3 years. I'd be crying right next to you, I'm sure. Do you feel like you had said, people have noticed the change in you and have noticed that you're living that truth and you're just a totally different person, and you feel it. I'm assuming that you totally feel it. Like, not only
Oh
did you
yeah.
make the transition, but even just on a personal or professional level, do you feel like because you are now living your truth that you feel more empowered? You feel more like, I just, yeah, out ready out to kind of conquer the world, and watch out because Liam's coming, like Liam is here to
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah. To some degree, I would definitely say I feel empowered. I certainly feel more just able.
Sure.
Like working in a school setting, I feel like I can just beast these kids because like you don't know what I've been through. I have been through all kinds of identity crisis in my life. Like don't
Yeah.
push it.
Yeah. You want to talk about identity crisis? Let's sit down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've had those conversations with kids before.
That's
Like
awesome.
you don't know what other people are going through. Like
Right.
if they seem down today, leave them alone. Just
Right.
leave them alone. You can't don't talk badly about them. Don't bully them. Just leave them alone.
Yeah, just leave
You
them
know.
alone. Let them work through their stuff. That's awesome. That's awesome. And just a couple kind of questions. And I am like, I just want to say first before I get lost, because then I do my whole spiel. Like, I am super proud of you, Liam. Like, it is so awesome that you finally like. And when you tell me like you looked in the mirror and you cried because you recognized yourself, like that is phenomenal. And that's what I wish, and I know I'm still working as a person to kind of finally look in the mirror and be like, man, you are badass. Like, you are awesome. And this is who I've been waiting for. And I feel like I'm still on that journey too. But just to have that and that inspiration for people that you can get to that point, that it's possible, it's like so crazy. And I'm super proud of you, Liam, and for just your story and being true to yourself and just being like, you know what, it is what it is. And people are either going to take it or leave it. And just being happy. Like, that is one of the biggest things I wish everyone it's going to look different for everybody. What your happiness is different than my happiness, and different from everyone else's happiness. So it's really just kind of identifying your own. So you have totally rocked at identifying your own happiness. Like, we should all take a little bit of a lesson from Liam here. Just embracing that. So super kudos to you. So before I get on my, yeah, you're welcome. Before I get on my next spiel. So just a couple questions for you to kind of wrap it up, for our audience, of whoever might watch this. What does the word empowerment mean to you as a person? I know it's a loaded question. Everyone always gives me that look. It's all good.
Empowerment. I think of being strong and knowing, just having that inner knowing of overcoming something. Like, even if it's the small things, people that have anxiety and depression and other illnesses, just those little things like getting out of bed, having had anxiety problems and still having anxiety problems, sometimes getting
Welcome.
out of bed, it's just like, yeah.
I just told Michael before our call, I'm like, my anxiety is super high today for some reason. I'm not sure why, but I'm like, I'm going in there and tapping into my little spiel here because I need a little bit of inner working here. But yeah, I feel you.
Yeah, so I mean, just those little things sometimes. I've heard the term spoons, and I've used that with like my friends. Like, if you don't have a lot of spoons today, just give what you can, and that's
Right.
as good as it's going to be. And feel empowered with that. Just have the strength and the courage to do what you can, and overcoming those little things.
I love it.
And if you can do the big things, fantastic.
Right. Add those in there. Sprinkle those in there.
Yeah.
You're doing big things already, I feel, especially with the students and leading that next generation, being such an interesting time in our world and getting a lot of traction. And I feel the same way, even like with women at this point in the Me Too movement and the transgender community and all of that, just embracing that people are who they are. Like, let's get over the bullshit and let's just embrace people for who they are. I don't care. We always talk about color or creed or religion. Just people in general. Like, let's get over ourselves. We're all human.
True that.
Goodness. Oh, if I could just, that's my soapbox for the night. But all right. And then what is one thing that you do, either on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever, that you continue to do to empower yourself? What does that look like for you?
I am an Aquarius, so I love to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like at the core of my being. I learn and suck up knowledge like it is literally air. Um, so
I like
I
people
take
like
classes. um, so I take classes all the time,
that. Okay.
and I find things that interest me outside of my own professional development, outside of art, which is what I studied in school, and I learn. I empower myself to get out of the house and go meet new people, and I learn.
That's awesome. Cool. I love
Yeah.
it. I love
Um,
people who learn.
so yeah. And I try to encourage my students, like school isn't always like this boring. Go find something you like to do and make it fun.
Yeah, don't tell my
So,
8-year-old that, or my 4-year-old. My 4-year-old is already like, Mom, I don't want to go to school. It's boring. I'm like, you have a very long time. We just had that conversation last night at dinner. Like, you have 12 years at least of
oh,
school if you decide to go on. And Abby was like, 12 years? And Adeline's like, I'm done. And she's just hasn't even started kindergarten. So we got a long road ahead of us. But
yeah.
I feel you. Neither of them are Aquarius. So that explains
Uh-huh.
it. Cool, cool. Well, definitely, I appreciate you sharing your story. Feel free to share when I go to post this on Facebook. But I just want to say again, I'm super proud of you, Liam. Thanks for sharing your story. You're going to be a true, true inspiration to people out there, either that have gone through it, are going through it, or maybe even have their own children that are going through it. So I greatly appreciate you sharing it. It's a great story. And you are totally, totally living your truth. And it's exciting to see you happy, of course. So, all right. Thanks
Yes,
so
thank you
much.
so much.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing your story. And I'm sure you'll see us again soon. All right. So thanks to Liam. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.